I was the oldest of 6 kids, grew up very Christian, strong household, got married when I got pregnant with my daughter when I was 21. So that was my first marriage, and then that fell apart. Had a second marriage, and that was very abusive. That's how the book came about, because I just hit rock bottom completely in almost every single way of my life. I wrote the book. I had to get down and dirty with God. He really pulled me out because I was really struggling. The book's called Mentally Bankrupt, and that's exactly how I was. So now I'm married to a really great guy. Life is like settling out a little bit, but now I do like pulpit fills, and I go around to different places and just kind of give hope that no matter what you've gone through or where you've been, that God can and will pull you out.
First thing I did want to ask you before we get into anything.
Yeah.
Daily Dose of Hope. Is that so? I know you had that written on some stuff.
Yes.
I really like the way you have that and the way it's kind of marketed there.
Oh,
with
Mom
the,
did that.
so I enjoy that.
And
I
no,
wanted
she
you to
doesn't want to be on the
expand on that a
screen,
little bit.
but yeah, that was all her.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I didn't know what to call it. And our last name, well, my OG last name is Daly, without the I, no I, Daly. And I was just like, Mom, I don't know what to, I was struggling to even finish the book because I was like, so my panic attacks were horrible. And Mom was sitting at the table and she's like, what about just like Daily Dose of Hope? And I was like, I like that a lot. And it works. Yeah.
It does. That's the first thing I said when I seen it, because I even asked her when I was, before you came here, I was trying to make sure I had the pronunciation correct, because I was like, is it Daly or Daly? I was like, I wasn't sure, so I was like, oh man. But no, I just like the way it rings, and it makes sense. Like, everybody needs a daily dose of hope, whether it's worded with an I or not. You know what I mean? We all need that, and I think that's just a message everybody can kind of understand and relate to. So, no, I like that a lot. So the name of the book is Mental Bankrupt.
Yeah.
Mentally
Bankrupt.
Mentally
Yep.
bankrupt. Okay.
And it's the subtitle is Running on Fear and Refueling with Faith. And that's kind of exactly what I was doing. In the abusive marriage, we had been house hunting. My daughter was probably 9 at the time. And my husband was just, well, the husband at the time. He just verbally, physically, I mean, he wouldn't punch you, right? He never hit you, but it was like, it's almost like it's worse when it's the emotional side of it, because bruises heal, and bruises on your self-esteem take so much longer to heal, And I remember sometimes thinking like, man, it would have been so much better if he just like knocked me out, because like then I can like get
Goes back to
up.
the sticks and stones saying, but yeah, absolutely.
And that, it wasn't the case with him. It was like those little digs that just tore you apart, one word at a time. And so I just started panicking. I was so anxious all the time, and I was on eggshells around him. It was like my nervous system just like was not happy around him. And I wasn't the only one. I mean, we lived with my family for a little bit, and nobody really liked him. But at the time, like I have people like when I go and give like testimonies at different recovery places, they're like, didn't you know that he was like this? And I'm like, well, yeah, I did. I mean, I did. There were so many red flags, like I couldn't ignore it. But I did.
Yeah, we just,
when you're
sometimes it's
desperate.
just down the path. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll eat from any plate that is handed to you. And that's how I was. I was just so desperate to have a family that I ignored everything, and I made excuses. And you can't. When your life is on the line, you just can't. So anyway, so I ended up writing the book. And then, of course, as I'm writing it, he's like, how are you going to help anybody if you can't even help yourself? And, just the whole 9 yards. And I'm like, well, then the book's not done. If I'm not better, the book's not done. And so
I respect that.
yeah, I left, and then I finished the book, and
okay,
and
so
then
that's
so that's kind of how that came about.
That's it. I want to dive in deeper into the panic attacks, because I think that's a lot of I think especially with the way society is and everything right now, it's kind of hard not to have something like that in your life right now. With the way everything is, we're all just a lot of stress right now, and struggles going on right now that a lot of people are in, and sometimes you just have that break-in moment, whether I would feel like a panic attack can be a lot of different ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can take it a lot of different ways, but we all struggle with that in some capacity. And so I guess my question to you would be, for you, what would you say is the biggest, most helpful kind of tool that you use when you're experiencing those, to kind of try to, I wouldn't say make it better, but lessen the blow in a sense?
Yeah, it's been years of like trial and error to get there, because when you first have a panic attack, I remember calling ambulances on myself. I mean, I didn't know what was happening, right? My dad struggles with anxiety and panic, so I did see some of it growing up. But when it's it's easy explained out when you see somebody else panicking. You're like, oh, they're just anxious, they're freaking out, everything's okay. But when it's you inside your body, and you're like shaking and you can't breathe and you're hyperventilating, your heart's pounding out your chest, and then you're spacey and you can't focus. It's a whole nother level of fear because you can't help you. Like you can't control you. So everybody says like the top one that everybody, if you Google it, they're like, oh, find 5 things you can see and 4 things.
Oh yeah,
And
the quick fix kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
except
yeah,
for it
yeah.
panics me to think about the order, like, and my OCD kicks in, and then I'm like, was it 5 things to see or smell? Like, it's not gonna work right. Like, I'm gonna, I'm gonna freak out. So, so for me, I had to really get into a good rhythm for my life. We get into rhythms watching Netflix and, going shows and all that. But for me, I needed something that was more stable. So, in the mornings when I wake up, am I allowed to say like brands of types of apps? And so, okay, so there's this app, it's called the Open app, just OPEN, mindful awareness. And it's like a breath meditation app. It is phenomenal. I think it's like $150, which I didn't know at the time.
Really?
I was creating my LLC and, I had payments on it and they were $150 and I got this app and I didn't realize the app was $150 and I just saw these charges.
Oh, it was just straight up for that.
It
It was
was,
just a
yeah,
one
but I didn't
time. Okay, I
realize it.
see.
And,
Wow.
and
Okay.
so it got like snuck in there and with the LLC payments. But I'm gonna tell you right now, it was the best $150 purchase of my, like, it was so good. Yeah. So I do it every morning, probably for like 20-30 minutes.
Wow.
And yep, and I just breathe and it really helps calm my nervous system. They have different topics for like, I mean, if you deal with like drug addiction, if you deal with alcoholism, if you deal with the loss or grief, or they have different like subtitles.
Whatever your issue.
But panic and anxiety is in one of them, and they have a whole thing that like calms your vagus nerve and balances your like the whole system. So I love that. So I do that in the mornings. And then I try to eat as healthy as possible because I did realize that a lot of my anxiety was paired with like unhealthy eating. So the more sugar you have, the more caffeine you have, your body's like, hold up.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
bad with that.
not,
Yeah, that's something I
like
got to
you're
work on
just
as well.
put
Yeah.
things in and this is not working right. And so, but in the moment, there's a few things that have really been helpful. One is, if you really feel like you're anxious and you're shaky and you're panicky, and I heard somebody say this, and at first I was like, I don't know about that, but then I did it, and it actually really works. So, yep. So what you do is, now don't do this in public because it might not go over well. But find like a bathroom or a bedroom or just like any safe place where nobody's gonna judge you. But even like a bathroom stall, like if you have to, like if you were at a concert or something and you're just freaking out, just find a place that, yeah, like where nobody can see you. But you completely shake your whole body out, your legs, your whole, just shake everything loose. And you do it for 2 minutes, just 2 minutes straight. And at the end of the 2 minutes, you do 5 really slow, as deep as you can go squats, just 5 very slow squats, and then you stop. And what I don't know if he was a doctor, what this guy said in like how this works is that it basically ramps up your like neuroreceptors. Like, so when you start to be triggered to have a panic attack, it actually runs the system faster. So the slow
So like
squats,
just speeds up the process.
yeah. So it
Okay.
kind
Yeah.
of like makes your body feel it. And then the 5 slow squats at the end kind of tells your body like, we're slowing down. Now we're coming out of it. And yeah, so it's kind of cool. So, but that does work. I mean, I've had it where it completely from your head all the way down to your feet, you just feel like this rush of calm. So that's really helpful. Yep. So there's that. It really a deep dive in just anything with your vagus nerve is really, really helpful. Because that runs all the way from like your neck all the way down through your stomach. And in your vagus nerve, it's like the stomach portion of it. Like if you do slow, deep breaths through your nose and just expand your stomach out and then bring it back in, and you just count like the box, like 4 breathe in, 4 hold, 4 breathe out, 4 hold, and you just do that a couple of cycles. That really helps.
No, yeah, breathing is a lot bigger than people think. I agree.
It is.
I agree.
Yeah,
It's not talked about enough.
no, it's not.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's helpful in the moment. And I like, so total Christian side of it, which really helps me a lot when I start my day. After I do the breath work and everything, I will just lay there and I'll just give God everything. I'll just be like, you can have my day. Any circumstance that's going to come at my, my body, like whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally. We were just talking about this the other day, how all my thoughts you're in control. Like they only are obedient to you. All like every breath is obedient to you. Every heartbeat is obedient to you. Every ounce of my nervous system is obedient to you, because if it's not obedient to God, it's obedient to something else. And so in my head, it makes me feel better, because I'm like, if I'm claiming it now, that means that if anything happens today, whether it's good or bad or scary or out of the blue, or say your heart skips for a second, or you just, I don't know, feel winded and you panic, or whatever your issue is, I've already given it to God. There's not one thing that's going to happen to me today that he doesn't know about, and he's already in control because I've already claimed it. So that helps. And then at night, before I go to bed, I'm my poor husband. I sleep with a Bible in my bed, and he had to get used to that. But I do, because I always feel like it's the word of God, and the word of God is living. While I'm asleep, it's awake, and it comforts me. I like to know that it's there. And that's something that I started doing when I was with my abusive ex-husband. I felt like I needed extra protection, and it really got me through. And I was like, you know what? I really just don't even want to stop doing. Yeah. And now it's super cute, because my daughter's like almost 15, and I went into her room the other day and she was asleep and her Bible was next to her. And I was like, were you reading it? And she's like, no, I just like sleeping next to it too. And I
No,
was
they didn't
like,
pick up on that stuff. You ain't
yeah.
kidding. No,
And
you ain't
yeah.
kidding.
So it's just,
No, no, yeah, you gotta have those core routines though. Like you said, that's the key. You gotta have something that, whatever that is for every person, you gotta find something that works for you. Like you said, yeah, that's whatever that is, yeah, in whichever direction you take that. But yeah, I agree. I think having that core foundation, and having that, mindset every day is the key. The consistency really is what it comes down to. If you can consistently do all that, and, keep yourself structured all the time, and, do the right thing no matter what. That's really what I always try to say. Just try
yeah.
to do the right thing, and, the rest of it kind of take care of itself most of the time with that stuff.
And it's interesting, like, one more thing just pops in my head that is really helpful is to just pause, right? Like, so sometimes, like, especially when you panic, like, you get on a spiral,
Yeah.
and sometimes if you just take a break, and you're just like, a couple deep breaths, blow out that's to the stomach air, do that. But then just think, like, okay, is this rational right now? Like, okay, that felt weird, but is that really what's happening? Like, did I go to a doctor? Did the doctor say I'm okay? Have I had this before? Yeah. Was I okay going through it? Yes. Is this going to be okay? Is this
We
something I
overthink
really
much.
need?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
we
you
do.
can kind of check yourself down. You could be like, okay, I have faced this before though, and nothing bad happened. So this time it's scary. And I note that. I'm noting it's scary, but I'm not going to let it live there. So you can kind of acknowledge it and give it a space, but be like, I've seen you before though, and it wasn't that bad. So sometimes
That's the key. No,
putting it in the box and just, I
I
see
agree.
you, and you just sit here for a second because I got to finish work
Right.
and I can't like,
Because that's the key. That's what I always bring up too. That we can't ever really just do away with it. They're always going to be there. That's like you said. You have a space for it. It's never just going to go away. It's never going to be perfect. Like we're always going to have those issues. So like it's how you organize it in your thought process. Like I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more with that. Going into off of panic attacks, it's going a little anxiety and depression kind of for talking about this. So, what were kind of the early signs for you with anxiety and depression that you kind of ignored at first?
I don't know, I was like 7 when it started, right? I was young. But I think for me, what was really helpful, um, in overcoming, and I say overcoming lightly, because just like you can be like a recovering alcoholic, you can be a recovering addict. You when you have panic attacks and anxiety, it's not, or depression even, it's not something that's just gonna magically go away. Like, you're not just gonna be like, oh, I'm healed and I never have that anymore, and I'm good. It's like, no, it's always there because it's part of your DNA. And that is how you were made. And I personally believe that every single person was made beautifully and perfectly by God. So he didn't give us anything that we can't use for good. Right. But sometimes we have to learn how to handle those parts
That
of
can be
us
manipulated. Yeah.
that that we don't like as much. So when I was, gosh, I remember really little. I mean, the moon would be like a blood moon, be like an orange moon. And I remember just panicking and crying on the couch. Mom's shaking her head. You guys can't see it, but mom is validating this right now. Yeah, because it wasn't how it should be. And in my head, if it was different, it was wrong. And if it was different, it was bad.
If it was out of the box, it was, yeah,
Yeah, it was
I
just
get that.
not
I get that.
okay. Like, it was out of pocket and I couldn't handle it. It couldn't be like, wow, what a beautiful sky tonight. It was like, oh my gosh, we're all gonna
The
die.
sky's
Like,
falling. Yeah,
yeah,
correct. I get
like
you on
there's
that.
gonna be aliens. Like,
Yeah.
so I was really young, so I don't know if I could ever say I ignored it because I am very aware of having it.
Okay, fair enough.
Now,
Yeah, that's fair.
the depression side of things, I think I would say that I had ignored.
Okay.
I
Yeah, you
always
can do
felt
that, right?
right.
Yeah.
I would say that. Like, and I wouldn't say I'm a very depressed person, but I definitely have a tendency to have the the heaviness of depression cast on me at times, right? So it's not my MO, but I've certainly faced it. And that I think we muscle through and we don't really acknowledge it as much. Panic and anxiety you face because it's in your face and you're like, okay, like I'm going to die, and you're freaking out. And it's like, that's hard to ignore. But depression, when you're day in and day out, like when my daughter, so I was 2 when she was born. I think I was like 22. So I was like 22 when she was born, and my husband at the time. So now we're going back. First husband, I met him in college. I got pregnant like, God, was it 9 months after meeting him? By our first anniversary together as a couple, we were already married, and I was getting ready to have a baby.
That sounds like
So-
us. Good Lord.
Okay, there you go. So see, we're in good company. We're in good company. So it was very fast. And so we rushed a courthouse wedding, planned a big church wedding after the baby was born, right? So she was born in July, so we got married February 2011. She was born July 2011, and then the following September was when we were going to have our big church wedding.
Gotcha.
And his family's from Ohio, so big, just everybody was going to come down. And 9 days before that wedding, so I'm only like 23 or 4 at the time, right? And we didn't have a lot of money so I'm like prepping the whole wedding. Like we had 300 people coming. It was between our family and his family, right? It was
Yeah, it's a big wedding. Yeah.
it was big. I mean, because he had a huge Italian family with a bunch of cousins and aunts and uncles. And so call it between 250 and 300. It was a lot. So anyways, it was like 9 days maybe before the wedding. And he went on a bachelor trip with my brother. My brother was there too. And my brother called me on the way home and he said, Kate, he said, something's wrong, something's up. And I was like, why? What are you talking about? And he's like, I don't know, man. He's acting weird. And I was like, what? He cheat on me? Like that was like my panicked thought, right? And he's like, no, nothing like that. He's like, not at all. He said he just keeps looking at his computer and he keeps saying it's too expensive to have a family. It's too expensive to have a family. And I was like, okay, we have one, but okay, we're here.
We don't have a choice. Yeah, I understand.
So he came home, didn't say much to me, went to bed, and I woke up the next morning and he was calling and he was canceling the wedding. He was calling every person. And I panicked because I'm like, what do you mean? Like, we've been married for over a year. We are married. We have a baby. She just turned 1, And he took all my stuff, piled it up on the porch and was like, I want you out. And then he handed me the baby and was like, leave. So mom came. You should be on that. She's like, no. That's not on
not
her.
interested.
Yeah, her bingo card for 2026 is not being interviewed.
That's right.
But yeah, so it was horrible. Mom came and brought her car and picked me up, and I take the baby, and he barely saw her for a couple years. I mean, he saw her maybe once, twice a month. And so I was thrown into not just separation, but then single parenthood, and it was hard. And so I muscled through as a mom and a very young adult, and the depression was there. I mean, I remember laying in bed and not wanting to get out of bed, and mom would be like, well, you have a daughter, like you gotta get up, and then I had to, at that time I was bartending part-time because he was making all the money, and then I had to go find a job, and I had to find a daycare, and I didn't get child support till she was 7. So it was a bad, there's a lot. That would be a whole separate episode.
Good Lord.
But yes, it was a lot. And so the depression side of it, I would say probably started then, but was I super cognizant of it? No.
Yeah.
Like it took me until probably writing this that I was like, wow, I really just muscled through stuff.
Yeah. No, we don't observe, like you said, in the moment sometimes. I agree with that. I think it's well said. Anxiety, you kind of experience it more because you're physically experiencing it usually more. And like depression's more mentally. You know what I mean? Like usually you're like more mentally tormented than your body being tormented, if that makes sense. So I agree completely because I think we we kind of bypass it in our mental where you just, like you said, you just push through and you're like, all right, whatever. We're just going to keep moving and keep, kind of like in a sense that like robot routine about our humanity. You know what I mean? Like we're just like, all right, just go about the cycle, go about the day
I'll
to
get
day.
through it.
Yep,
I'll figure it
exactly.
out.
So no, I think that's a very good point because I think it's sometimes harder for us to notice it and be self-aware in that situation when it's depression because like you said, it's kind of just something we just kind of, in a sense, normalize. You know what I mean? It's where it's just like, all right, it's we all expect it in a sense. Or it's just like, all right, well, whatever, man. That's just another day of that, So, no, I think to view it and be self-aware of it is key just to even realize you're in it, I think sometimes.
It's
Sometimes
sneaky.
yeah, correct. I
Yeah,
think that's
it
half the
sneaks
battle.
in.
I think that's half the battle. So I wanted you to dive a little deeper into this too. So you're talking about your daily habits. I know you talked about your kind of your routine a little bit. What would you say your daily habits though stabilize you the most?
Which ones
Like for sleep, like what would you kind of like give me your sleep, food, and routine and like that? Like, give me break down the day for me, other than like your start to your day stuff that you were talking about.
I was just talking to my sister about this like today. So I eat really clean. I try to at least. Like as like minimal ingredient like I do have weird food allergies, so that helps me out a little bit. But someone told me once, it was I think it was one of my doctors, they said shop the perimeter of the store where like the meats are, like all the veggies, the fruits, like whatever really doesn't have any ingredients or additives. And then when you go down the center aisles, try to find things that are 5 ingredients or less. And if you do that, then you're not getting all like the wacky chemicals, or at least not a ton of them. So I try to keep that in mind. And I try not to do a ton of like preserved items or dairy. Like dairy's not good with like my asthma. Like it's just, so there's my food's like, I'm kind of boring with
Fair enough.
with
Hey, nothing wrong. Hey,
food.
you gotta do what
Like
works for you though.
it's
That's the
like
key.
Vega Sport protein shakes and, eggs and hummus and carrots and like, it's very, but as far as, so I try, now I have been not contagiously sick, but the allergies have just wrecked me this
Oh,
past.
this season has been oh my god. The weather
Brutal.
around here has been weird.
Oh, it's a hard. I just finished up like steroids and like probably for like a month because I do photography on the side, and it just being outside. Everyone wants their photos outside because it's so pretty, and just the pollen and
Oh,
everything.
God, it's awful.
Yeah, I've been like using my inhaler, and
It's so windy lately too, like all the time.
and it hasn't been raining much.
Yeah, it's bad. It's
Yeah,
a bad combo.
not good.
Yeah, I agree.
So I have not been exercising, but what I do like to do, because I do actually have anxiety going to the gym. I just don't like it. And if there's anybody out there like me, you're not.
Oh, just going to the gym, like in general, like with other people. Is
like
that
just
what you mean?
going in.
Okay, fair
Like
enough.
if
fair
you
enough.
were like, hey, go in, and because I have really weird, they call it like health anxiety. So I don't like when my body feels weird or different. It's like the red moon effect, but inside.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
So
No, fair enough. I was just
I
curious.
freak out. So like if I'm like, and I'm not obviously a bodybuilder, we can all tell that, but if I'm like lifting weights or whatnot, and say your heart rate gets up a little bit, I panic. I'm like, oh my gosh, why is my heart feeling like that? Why do I feel like that? Why do I feel kind of spacey? And it's like, well, because you just lifted 50 pounds. Like, of course you're gonna, logically I know, but I guess when I drive somewhere and I go to the gym, my thoughts like, oh my gosh, I'm like something's wrong, and I do want to touch on, so it took me a long time to figure this out, but my anxiety stems from the feeling of if something bad happens, nobody will be there to save me. Okay? And when I was little, so I'm the oldest of 6 kids, and it's me and my brother. And then there's a big gap, there's like 9 years. And then there's 4 more kids. So poor mom, she always got the question like, is it all the same dad? Like every time we went to the grocery store or whatever. Yeah. And she's like, yes. Like she would get so annoyed answering. And we all like are dead ringers for each other. So it was like pretty obvious. But anyways, so for me though, because I was the oldest of 6 kids, I was like mom's helper. Oh, she's shaking her head. Yeah, see more. There's more validation in the corner. But it was so rough because I wanted to be helpful. It's the oldest child syndrome. You just want to please your parents, and Lord knows, I mean, with all those kids, mom did need help. Like it was a lot.
Absolutely. You got to need extra hands every once in a while with that. I can't imagine. I'm sure.
It was, and they were, what was it, 4 kids under the age of 6 or 7? I mean, they were 3 of them were in high school at the same time. Like one's a set of Irish twins. Like it was close. So, and I didn't mind, but we did homeschool through middle school. And so I was there. I was very presently there. And I think that paired with like nannying for the neighbors' 3 kids. And in the summer, I mean, I'm sitting there with my friend and we got like 8 kids in a pool and like 3 of them can't swim and,
Oh gosh,
and
yeah,
it's,
yeah, it's
so
terrible.
so I think like a lot of my childhood, um, like not for any reason than just life put me in a position where if I didn't watch my siblings, they could drown. If if mom was working late and I had to make sure they all were bathed and dinner was on the table, I had to do it right. Like I had to make sure nobody choked. I had to make, so I think that hypervigilance, I guess it freaked me out in a sense. Like I put a lot of pressure on myself. So then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm here for them, but who's here for me? And mom and dad always were, but I think in my head, I kind of conditioned myself to always be the giver and not allow myself to receive the help, which I think a lot of us do.
No, my wife can relate to you a lot there. She's got a pretty similar situation there. Yeah, no, she's got. How many siblings you got, babe? Right, 6. I thought so.
There
I
you
wanted to make
go.
sure I wasn't wrong
Yeah.
there.
So we're like the
So
same
yeah, she had the
person.
same kind of vibe there. But no, she understands completely. But no, you're right. It's sometimes you take on that caretaker role and you kind of have to, and it goes back to what we always say. You're taking care of somebody else. Sometimes you forget in the process to take care of your own self too.
Right. And I know like as a little kid, because my asthma was always like so absolutely horrible that like I would need my nebulizer machine, like the breathing machine. I remember waking up and I know mom remembers this. I would sneeze or something stupid. It would, yeah. She's like, oh yeah. I would sneeze in the middle of the night, just like a sleep sneeze. And then I'd be like, and I like would not be able to breathe. And we would be rushing around trying to put this machine together so that I could breathe. Like it was horrible. And we had to do all the stuff where you zipper the pillows and you freeze the stuffed animals in the freezer to kill the dust mites. And like it was ridiculously crazy. And I think that like the more I did a deep dive into it, like there's like a health PTSD that comes from different experiences. And even though I was like 7, 8, 9 years old, like going through that, I still sleep with my like not the nebulizer, but like an inhaler. Like I know where it is next to the bed. Like it just kind of like freaks you out a little bit because
Yeah,
you're
but the security of it. Yeah, I
yeah,
understand that. No, we
yeah.
all gotta have
So
that. We gotta feel comfortable in our surroundings. No, yeah, whatever that is, as weird as that is, to other people, we gotta figure out a way to do that. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
yeah, so going back to your question, so like with the gym, right? So in my head there, it's like I don't really, I mean, even if my husband's there, I feel a little bit better. But if it's not, I'm like, oh, okay, well, if something happens, like who's gonna help me?
No, the
You
worst
know what
case
I mean?
scenario kind of
It
thought. I
it it
understand that.
freaks you out. So, anyways, I don't do that. So my routine is I try to, when I'm not dying of pollen and allergies, Leslie Sanson from like what the 90s, maybe. She has like a walk at home tape thing
Hey,
with
okay, I
like
haven't heard this. No,
but
no.
I love her because she's so upbeat and she just smiles the whole time and she's like, "You're
Fair
doing
enough. That's
great."
right.
Like, and I'm like, "Oh
Just
my
emotional
God."
support. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah. And I have
That's
like
funny. That's good.
I have like the comfort of my home. I can carry weights and do it.
Oh man.
There's like Pilates at home.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Just
like taking
incorporate and doing it
walks.
your own self. Nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that. Yeah.
But definitely something for your body. You have to do something for your body, especially when you're dealing with like depression and anxiety, because all of that energy gets pent up inside your body. And if you're not expelling it, then it has to go somewhere and then it'll go to your brain and you'll start thinking about everything horrible.
No, I agree. Yeah, like you said, it's got to exit somehow. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I like to go back, shake it out, like you said. Yeah, just
Yeah,
shake it
yeah,
out.
it works. So I do that, and then eating healthy. I go to my day job. My day job is I'm an assistant project manager at a building firm, so not a lot of moving around, but I do have like a yoga ball I can sit on. Yeah, and then in the evening, I try. Well, I try to like have some sort of family time with the kids and my husband. But right before bed, I always shower before bed because I think it just like is like a nice calming for me, right? It just kind of washes off the day. And then I have a bunch of scriptures I like to read, and I just do the same. So I'll do like Psalm 31, 51, 91, and 121. And then I'll do Luke 10:19 and Mark 16:15 and Ephesians 6, like the armor of God part.
Gotcha.
And for whatever reason, if I do that, I sleep good. I'm peaceful. Yeah, I just do my whole. The days I don't do it, I know it. I'm like, man,
No, no,
like,
something's off. Something's off. No, yeah, you're right. We
but
got to have that routine. Yeah.
but the important thing to know though is like if you are struggling, there is no such thing as having a perfect day every day. Like even even, I mean, I wrote the book on it, right? But it doesn't mean I'm exempt. So I will wake up and I will still have the mornings where I feel like I'm crawling out of my skin. I'll still have the mornings where it feels like you took that full day's dose of prednisone at once and you're like, I can't handle it. And I'm not exempt from that. Like the best we can do is armor ourselves up with the tools to help us get through it. And then remind ourselves that this too, it will pass. Like nothing is forever. Every single thing in life is temporary, even us. So if I'm panicking now, odds are in about an hour, I probably won't be, and it's okay. So if you remind yourself of how, everything really does have an ebb and flow, it brings you peace. But I will lay there. I mean, I'll lay in bed for like a half an hour and they say if you put one hand on your chest and one hand on your stomach and you just like slow, deep breathe, it like gives your body like comfort, like it comforts your nervous system. I'll do it for like a half an hour and I'll just pray the whole time and I'll be like, I can't do today, but God, I know you can. And today I have 5% to give. Like my battery's at 5% and I need you to do the 95. So help me. Please help me. And he does. He pulls through every single time. But I have to kind of get to a point where I surrender it too. Because without surrendering it over, then I'm doing everything on my own will and my own accord. And I've had those days and they're horrible all day long.
No, I'm glad you said that though, because we all need to be more open and vulnerable. Because like you said, everybody depicts like a perfect, like nobody has. Like you said, we all need to be very vocal about that. We do struggle. We all struggle. We all have moments where it's not perfect. Not everything's going according to plan per se. And, we have to just do our best to get through those moments and be open. Like you said, that's the key when you're asking to God or whoever you're asking for, whether it's your spouse or whoever, to give you grace during that day. For all of us to be open and not judgmental for people going through that. And it's not, obviously, you can take it too far and abuse it and do it every day. But there's a fine line here. I'm not trying to say it all the time. But, when we are struggling, we have to find a way to productively, say that to people, and hopefully everybody can be, not judgmental about it and support that, support them that, they need a little, like you said, they need a little more help and boost today than they did yesterday. And we all should try to do a little better as a society and as people and individuals and relationships, whatever it is, to try to, support people when they are down and not kick them when they're down. I think that's the key.
Oh, absolutely. I 100% agree. And I think the more open and honest we are with each other, I really think that's where healing comes in. Yeah, because it's like even when I go around and I do like the testimonies and it was funny, my memory on Facebook popped up and it was today, a year ago, I was in New Jersey at a Hope conference and it was really fun. But it's just important to remember, like, if we are open with other people, like I can't tell you how many times I will speak somewhere and someone will come up and say, I am so glad you said that because I felt really alone. And it's like, we're not meant to be alone. We're meant to like, and in the world of Facebook and Instagram where everything is so picture perfect, it's like people really want that reality.
Genuine, yeah, authentic, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree.
And I was telling my husband the other day, I'm like, man, in the world of AI, as amazing as it is, I mean, ChatGPT helped us fix the thermostat the other day.
Correct.
I mean, it is
It's a fine
really,
balance, yeah.
it's great. But in a world where everything is becoming that, where you don't know what news is real or not, what articles are real or not, what pictures are real or not, like you can distort anything. And I really think that's where authenticity is going to come into play because people, they want to know I'm not alone. I'm not struggling. I'll never forget. So I'm a huge like Joyce Meyer fan, right? And I was listening to her when I was living with the second husband, the abusive one. And we had just bought a house and I was painting in the house and I had her women's conference. I paid like the $10 to, chime in on the women's conference. And I had read a bunch of her books. Now, keep in mind, at this point, I was super panicked. I was anxious all the time. Part of my anxiety was, so I have PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. So basically, in layman's terms, I just have cysts on my ovaries that put out too much insulin in my body. So the insulin causes my blood sugar to go down sometimes. So hence the really clean diet. It keeps me really level, keeps my A1C in check. But I'm not diabetic by any means. So now if I ate sugar all the time and I really didn't eat properly and I didn't watch like weight and stuff, I could be. I have the potential because of the PCOS. But anyway, so part of my health anxiety was panicking over my blood sugar dropping because in my head, if my sugar dropped, then I was completely out of control. And I've had it before, like in college, like where you drink too much, where like I've like, like there's factors that go with it, but like I've like blacked out and had like ambulances be like, you're at 54, and like 54 is like not good. Like you don't want to be 54. And so when I went through the divorce with my first husband, and then prior to the divorce with my second husband, both times I reverted back to that same vice of I couldn't control anything around me. So what I could control was monitoring my sugar levels, because that number told me I was okay. So
It was the one thing you could kind of
yeah, it
control.
was
I
like
understand
control the
that. That makes sense.
controllable,
That makes sense.
but in like the worst way possible.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, for sure.
I remember being in this room and I was painting, right? And I was listening to Joyce Meyer, and she had written all these books like Get Your Hopes Up and Battlefield of the Mind, and, overcoming all this stuff that I was really fighting through. And she, on this podcast, like never once did she ever say anything about anxiety meds or anything. And so in my head, I was always like, you're super weak if you're on it. Like you just need God. God's the only thing that you need, and he'll get you through, and you don't need medicine. And I was listening to her, man, and she's like, I'm thankful for doctors that created anxiety medicine because I've been on it for 30 something years. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I like almost fell off my ladder because I was like, what? I'm like reading all of her books thinking like it was just on her, like her and God. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that would have been a real fun fact to know.
Correct. That would have been a nice thing to add on to the side. Yeah, I agree. I would
like
agree.
just in any book, I've read like 15 of them. I'm like, oh, I watched her all the time. I saw her in person like 3 times. I'm like, what? So
Nice little disclosure. It would have been nice. Yeah, I agree. I would agree.
Agreed. So anyways, it was helpful to hear that though, because it was almost like that was my go ahead that if I needed it, I could do it. I could take something. Now, I will say right now, I have not needed anything. Thank God. But during that season, leaving him and all the abuse, they gave me lorazepam, and because I didn't want anything addictive. I didn't want anything that was going to cover the Band-Aid, right? Like as a Band-Aid. Like I didn't want to, like I didn't want, these are all my problems. Give me something to help me deal, and I'm never going to deal with my problem. Like I was cognizant of this problem needs to be dealt with, but I also am really struggling to just survive. So, they were like, well, lorazepam only stays in your system for so long. You could take it every 4 to 6 hours as needed. And I was like, perfect. That's great. Now, for a couple months until I left him, I was taking it around the clock. But it helped. It helped me get out. And then as soon as I left, within 3 days, I
Nice.
I
No,
was off
that's
of
huge.
it.
That's huge.
Yep. And I was able to unpack a lot with my therapist. And it's been almost 5 years and I haven't needed
That's
it.
awesome.
So praise God, right?
Yeah.
But it was nice to hear that. So if there's somebody that's listening, I mean, it's you don't want to put a Band-Aid on your problem and ignore the problem. But I had to take steps to get out of where I was. And in order
kind
to
of reevaluate in a sense. No, yeah.
And I needed that extra layer to calm my nervous system so I could think clear enough
Very good point.
to handle what I was faced with. So you're not weak if you need something. I wouldn't say try to be on something forever because, I mean, unless you need it, talk to your doctor. But I mean, like, I'm not a doctor.
Yeah,
I was an art major.
We're not giving away medical advice.
No,
That we are not.
But if you need it temporarily,
yes,
there's no shame in
it. Yes, well said. And that's the key. The stigma on it can be bad. And I think that's the key. I mean, we need to kind of get past that as society and realize, like you said, if you need something, as long as you need it to help you, great. You know what I mean? But like you said, you don't you have to be on it forever, just like you said, too. So there is a fine line and a good balance, and everybody's, obviously, each situation's different. I don't want to speak for other people, but obviously just whatever works for you, and, that's all we can do. But no, that's awesome. That's great that you, had that experience, went on it. And I honestly respect you the way that you dealt with that and talked about the way you knew that it could be an issue, because that's the thing, like you said, some of these medications out there, man, it's just so scary now. And I respect you kind of doing your due diligence and trying to find something that worked, but also didn't kind of, take that away. So no,
I was like, I can't have one more problem.
Look at that different. I think a lot of people could look at it like that. No, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
But I want to say this too, because obviously you've done a lot of events and speaking too. So I want to get into this a little bit. When you say you meet listeners where they're at, what does that kind of look like for you day to day?
It's interesting because when you come across people, everybody's, I mean, gosh, from day to day, I could be in a different place. You know what I mean? Like you're on a different playing field on your birthday than you are, like the day you're fired. Being able to relate to where they're at in life at the moment. So I try not to over push or over talk them. You know what I mean? Like, so if somebody comes up and they're like, oh my gosh, my husband's this, this, and this, I can tell you right now, I lived that. That was horrible. You know what I mean? Like, that was not good. And if it were me, I'd get out super fast. But they're not there. You know, I have a really good friend who she's in a similar situation that I was with my second ex-husband and the abusive one. And she tells me things all the time. And I'm like, man, like I lived that. I absolutely lived that. But I also lived it enough to know that it has to be her decision to leave. It can't be mine, you know, and that's really, really hard because you care about these people and you want to see them live their best life, but you can't force them to do anything. So when you meet them where they're at, I try to just encourage that I was in that place and I'm very, very open about any part of it that they want to know. And then I'll say, but this is what I had to like. So I find the relatability factor. And then I'll say, but this is the action factor that I had to do to get out of it. And then this is the hope factor that, you know, lets you know that it can happen to you too. Like you too can be free, but you don't go from despair to free. You go from despair to action because you drown in a river if you stay in it. You don't drown in a river if you get out. As long as you keep getting out, you got hope to like live. So it's hard. And I've had a couple friends and people that I know that have stayed. They just weren't willing to take any action. And unfortunately, like the one, it was interesting. I learned oh gosh, you learned so many lessons. But I learned a really important lesson with her because she was in a arguably worse situation than I was. And she would call me, I mean, 5, 6, 7 times a day, text me, I mean, from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed, screenshotting, sending what he was saying. You know, I was almost like I was reliving my entire experience through her. And it went on for months. It went on, and the kicker was, it started so in church, you have, like, the Lent season, which is, like, Ash Wednesday to Easter Sunday, and you're supposed to give something up and really grow close to the Lord, and so I was like, "This is great," like, you know, and I'm gonna read my Bible more and, you know, do these Bible studies, and I run into this girl that I had not seen in a while, and it was no joke, like, it was, like, the Sunday before or after Lent or maybe on Lent, like, it was, like, right there, and I took it upon myself. I was like I kinda took her under my wing, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna fix her. Like, I'm gonna get her out of this." And I ran my husband told me, he was like, "I would not." He was like, because he saw it from the outside, and he's like, "You've been doing so good." He was like, "Why would you" he said, "You can help her, you can be her friend." He's like, "But why are you spending all this time and energy?" And then my mom's shaking her head. Mom also, said the same thing. I got a mild eye roll there. And and so, but I was like, "No, no, 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 like, I got out of it. God's gonna help me get her out of it." Well, the part of that I missed was I didn't really pray and ask God if that's what he wanted me to do. So I did it on my own will and accord. And when we do things on our own will and accord, it usually does not end up peaceful, calm, or well. And it did not. So I gave my all to this girl. I mean, everywhere I went, "Oh, why don't you come with us? Why don't you this? Why don't you know?" And by, let's say that was February, by May, no joke, started having heart palpitations. Like that, you know how scary that is? It's terrifying, especially with like heart anxiety and health anxiety. Like it was just horrific. And it was so uncomfortable. And I was waking up in the middle of the night. It was like all of my anxiety from leaving that marriage was back. And my husband was like, "What is happening to you? I've never seen you like this. Why are you like this? Like, what is happening?" And I couldn't figure it out. And then finally, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I am living this through her." I put my whole nervous system, like the book, The Body Keeps the Score, my body kept every score. And it went right back into it because I was submerging myself
But you
with
ran us back
everything.
in a cycle almost, me.
Yep, and I had to I told her, I was like, "Look, I love you as a friend. I love you as a sister. I can't be around you. I'm so sorry, but I cannot if you're not willing to leave this horrific situation for you and your child, I can't.
No, yeah,
I can't."
understandable.
And it took me probably 5, 6 months to get I mean, I was having anxiety going places again. Like, I felt like I was back at, like, I was just like started reading my book again. I'm like, how did I get out of it? Like I had to really start over in a sense. Kind of like, I guess, like a relapse,
Yeah, yeah,
in a
fair
way.
enough. No, yeah, you just
Um,
kind of had to do it all over again in a sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so the lesson learned there was, even though you're meeting people where they're at, there is a line. And for me, it's, I have to pray on it. I have to say, God, is this what you do? Do I have a place here? Is my place to just listen and to give hope?
Yeah, that's
You right? Or is my place to do something more? And it was a huge lesson learned, but I draw the line. Like I've had people at different Celebrate Recoveries. They're like, "Oh, could you be my sponsor?" And I'm like, mm-mm, "I'm sorry, I can't," because the situation that is surrounding you right now, I know where that's gonna go. So meeting them where they're at, um, you know, relate, action, hope, but beyond that, I can't take on. I used to be like, well, I can't, when you call into Joyce Meyer Ministries, she doesn't, is you always have to talk to one of her prayer partners. And it's like, and then you start going around to different churches and speaking in different states. And then you're like, this is exactly why, because that woman is, if she had to hear every
correct.
single
Yeah, you
person's,
wouldn't have nothing to do. Yeah,
or she
that'd be
wouldn't.
it. That'd be it. That's all you do all day. Yeah.
Yeah, or she'd just be pouring from an empty cup. Like, how do you keep your cup full to help others if you're just constantly being drained
Can't even
all
like keep
around
up.
you?
Yep.
Yeah, so
No,
there was
100%.
a lot of lessons learned with that. So if anybody's like,
No, that's key.
I want to be a helper, that's great, but know your limit.
No, that's key. I think that's well said. I think that's completely well said. And the other thing I always bring up too, when we try to give advice, sometimes we always forget that we give advice of what we would do in a situation. That's what I always try to remind people of. It's like it's sometimes it's not always what's best for them. It's always what we think's best for us and how we would respond. That's the advice we're going to give because that's the information we have. So I always try to remind ourselves of that too. But no, you're right. You gotta know when not to do it and when to shut up, kind of thing. Like you said, so sometimes, like you said, just listening can be everything, and that's downplayed a lot. But sometimes not saying a word and just actually hearing somebody vent and go talk what they need to get through, and
Yeah.
that can almost be more than saying something.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. Going to this too.
Yeah, go for it. Hit me with your best shot.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. All right.
What do you got?
So what would you say for your work? Would you say, well, everything you've done with the writing the book, going to speaking places, what's one thing that really sticks out for you that was kind of like your real kind of experience that was like, I'm really meant to be doing this kind of thing? Is
That
there
is
anything you want to kind of relay to happen?
yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so what in the work that I've done is like clarification that
Yeah,
I'm
something
doing
like a
what I
big
should
example
be
that you
doing.
had that like really kind of solidified that, I'm really where I need to be.
I went to school for architecture. Okay, so I'm not in my not in my wheelhouse here. So architecture, interior design. I was the HGTV channel watcher. Ty Pennington and the move the bus.
That's
The whole deal.
that
Yeah.
was a great show. Great
It
show.
was like amazing.
Great show.
So, my whole life was that. And then after I had my daughter and I had the whole thing with the marriage falling apart with my ex-husband, the first one. I have to clarify for people.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, I don't want them,
Get the timeline
first
right.
one
That's
has
right.
the child, right? So, I remember back, gosh, I don't know what holiday it was, but he had her. I don't know if it was Easter, there was a few Mother's Day where he kept her. Like, I don't know what it was, but I remember going, I grew up Catholic, so I went to, I was passing by St. Christopher's on Kent Island at the time. And I was so upset about just not having her. She was really little. I mean, by the time we officially divorced, she was 3. But when we separated, she was 1. And I held off on finalizing a divorce for 2 years because I was like, I don't believe in divorce. The second marriage, I was like, can we sign them today? So, things change, people change.
That is true.
But that first marriage, I really held on, for a couple years, hoping and praying that God would give me my family back. So I remember dropping her off and I didn't know where to go. So I just went to church because that was the one place where I was like, I feel safe. I feel like I feel safe because I didn't know what to do. So I dropped her off and I was really upset and there was a mass going on and I was not dressed for mass at all. But St. Christopher's has like this really big, they call it like the narthex area, but it's like your entryway right behind, and then there's like a glass panel, and then it's like the entrance of like the church area. So there's like this big glass doorway that you can look in and hear the mass and see the mass, but you're not like in the church. So I went there and I was just, God, I was so upset. I mean, I was so upset. And I was upset with God because I'm like, what did I do? Like, what did I do? Like, I'm not perfect by any means, but I'm like, nobody cheated. There's no like drugs, alcohol. Like, there's nothing that, like, why can't I have a family? Like, I don't understand. Like, what did I do
Yeah,
so
no, yeah,
wrong?
we all can relate to that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I stood outside and I was just pacing, right? I was just pacing. And then one of their ushers saw me, and that was not the typical church I went to, right? So it's not like they all knew me there. Nobody knew me in this church, but I knew they had a service going on, and I just wanted to go. So I'm like pacing behind this glass, probably looks suspicious, right, to everybody in the church. So looking back, there's probably a little sus. So the usher comes in and he was like, well, you can come sit. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, the last place I want to be is closer to God. Like, I'm so mad right now. Like, I don't want to go all the way into his house. I just wanted to sit on the outside. Like, like I just wanted the porch area. Like, the screened in porch is just fine with me. So I just kind of complied because I'm like, I don't want, I don't want to cause a scene. And church was like already going. And so I went in, I sat down. It was like a Saturday night service. So it wasn't like it was a packed Sunday, right? So I went and I sat down and I'm looking around. So I'm like eye roll, and I'm looking around, no joke, every single person there is a family. Like, it's a couple. Like, everybody. And I do talk about this in the book. So I'm looking around and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I come here for comfort and every freaking person is a family. It's like husband, wife, and kids. Everybody. I'm like, what are the odds of that? Like, there is nobody had a spouse that died. Like, nobody. So
Like, is
I'm
this a setup?
yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
was like,
understand.
where's Ashton Kutcher? Like, is he gonna
Yeah,
pop out?
yeah,
Like, pumped, So I'm like looking around. They have this giant cross in the front, like in the center of the church. So I'm sitting there looking around. So then, of course, I'm so mad that I'm like making up scenarios about these people in my head. I'm not even paying attention to the service. So I'm like, I bet he's having an affair with the secretary. I bet it's not even his kid. Like, no joke. I was like legit. I was just so mad.
Yeah, yeah, you
And
just sort of run. Yeah, I get it. I get it. We
yeah,
all go down
it
that.
was just bad. And it made me feel better in the moment. But anyway, so then in the Catholic Church, they have this part where they do the sign of peace. And everybody, I go to a Protestant church now where like mom's been there. So like when you do the sign of peace, it's like 15 minutes and they all get out of the pews and like you don't even know where people belong anymore.
Oh, wow,
Like
okay.
it just
musical
takes
chairs.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dang
yeah.
right, okay.
Catholic Church is not like that. Catholic Church, you pretty much stay in your zone. Unless it's a Spanish mass, they will get out and mingle. But they will. But for the most part, it's more like peace be with you. You shake the people right around, but nothing extravagant. So I'm sitting there, and of course, I didn't have anybody. So I'm watching all these people shake hands and hug, and I'm like, great. Anything else? Like, I'm so done right now.
Cherry on top, yeah.
I don't, yeah. So then the priest continues. He goes into like a later part of the mass. They're starting to do communion. He's preparing everything on the altar of the Eucharist, and so we're all kneeling at this point, way past the peace. Okay, like just way past. And this old man comes up and he taps me on the shoulder, and I gave that man probably the meanest look I've given anybody in my entire life. Like, I just like glared. And he was like older than God. Like, I don't even know where he came from. And he just taps on my shoulder, and I thought he was gonna ask me to move down, and I was gonna be like, dude, there's open seats in front of me. Like, I was not having it. And this little old man, he reached out his hand and he was like, peace be with you.
Love that.
And I was like, first of all, I'm like, did he miss the mark? Like, does his hearing aids work? Because we're not there anymore. Like, and I'm like, okay. And I just reached my hand out because I didn't know what else to do.
At that point, you just gotta run with it.
You go with
No,
it.
absolutely.
And he grabbed my hand in both of his and he says, remember, God always saves the best for last. And I just cried because I was like, I felt so alone and so forgotten. And
Just needed that
so
moment.
I did. So that was young. I was like 24, I guess. So then fast forward, and I was really struggling with the second husband. And I was pricking my fingers to the point where they were so callous I couldn't feel them. Like, I was checking my sugar levels probably like 50 plus times a day, which if anybody is listening that's a diabetic, they know that those test strips are very expensive. And although Walmart.com does deliver them at a pretty cheap rate. So there's that.
Fair enough.
So for anybody that needs, pro tip. But it was so bad and I was so panicked. And I went to this service with my mom. And this is before I had left this husband, right? And
We're keeping our timeline right. That's right.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I hope so. It seems like we have. I think
Yeah.
you have. I'm pretty sure.
If not, read the book. No.
That's right. That's exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well said.
Cross check me. No, but it was before I left, and at that point my panic attacks were so bad that I was waking up in the middle of the night. I mean, it was like 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So, I mean, I was just waking up cold sweat, shaking, pacing. I mean, my nervous system was shot. Like if I had a vagus nerve then, it probably hated me, like just straight up. So my mom and I went to this women's retreat at Cornerstone Church in Bowie, which is I love that church over there. And they had guest speakers come in. It was this whole women's thing. So it was Friday night, and then there was a couple hours, and then we had to go back Saturday, and it was 9 to 3. Well, Friday night, at this point, we're living at my parents' house, waiting to purchase a house, and everything kept falling through. Yeah, it was just yeah. So I was there, and my mom was like, okay, let's get ready to go. And so of course I'm shaking the whole time. I'm checking my blood sugar like every 18 seconds. And I could barely, I wasn't sleeping. At that point I had gained probably 35 pounds. I can send you guys pictures too. If you want to pop things
got
up
the
for your
Weight
viewers.
Watchers edition.
Yeah. Like I had pictures of my fingers being all
God bless.
jammed up. So I lost all feeling. It was. Would you want to interject, Mom? You can interject from the sideline.
Sure. I specifically remember trying to help you get through that, but by let's go on a bike ride. Correct. She would literally have probably 30 pounds of food in a backpack along her back just to take the icicle ride around our neighborhood.
Yeah, couldn't do it.
How about that?
It was
That's wicked. No, that's wicked. No, yeah, that's I'm glad you're being open, because people, like I said, people need to realize that that's the extent they can get to, and know that you're not alone.
Oh, I wouldn't walk. They have a 300-foot drive. I'm glad you said that.
But that's real shit.
Yeah, it is. They had a 300-foot driveway, and I would not walk down to get the mail. 300 feet. It's not that long. I mean, it's long, but it's not like you're not going to die. I would bring a Boost energy, not even energy. It was a Boost protein shake and a peanut butter sandwich with me to get the mail. And I didn't eat it. I just would carry it. My fear was just I was going to fall out, and it was debilitating. I mean, Mom had, gosh, you had to help me get Anthea her breakfast and lunches. I mean, my daughter was still in elementary school, and I was just I would sit in the kitchen and sob. I couldn't make a sandwich. I couldn't. It was so rough. No, I could not. I mean, there were times when Mom would have to come get me on the side of the road. I would pull over and I would just be hyperventilating. Could not function at all. I mean, I would go into the grocery store shopping and put everything in the cart that I need, and I'd be shaking the whole time, hyperventilating, panicking the whole time, and I wouldn't even be able to go to the checkout. I would just leave the cart and I would sit in my car and sob. It was so bad. And couldn't go out to the movies. I mean, I would sit in the movie theater and I would just be panicking. I couldn't go out to eat. I mean, dinner at a restaurant was like a death sentence. I mean, because I felt trapped. I didn't have a way out. It was horrible. So yeah, I'm glad you said that, because it was, and I ended up eating. I ate healthy, but I cut out bread and stuff now. But I mean, I gained 30 pounds at least in a couple months. Because every time I woke up in the middle of the night, now if I wake up and I'm anxious, I'm okay, let's just take some breaths. Let's just calm it down for a second. Let's just talk it out, And but then I was just oh my God, I'm dying. And I just went right to eating. And I mean, when I say eating, I was eating.
No, that was your comfort at the time.
It was.
Yeah.
I would do peanut butter and jelly sandwich, cup of whole milk, a banana,
dang right,
an extra thing of peanut butter. I mean, I probably had 800 calories every time
per indulgence.
Yeah. So great. So when we went to this retreat, the second one, the path, it was a husband and wife duo, and they did an altar call at the end, and they were like, hey, so we need everybody to everybody come on up here, we want to pray over you before we see you tomorrow. And the whole weekend they called us daughter, right? In the Bible, they're just oh, your daughters of the king, your daughter this, daughter that. If I had $1 for every time they called us a daughter, it would have been great. So it would have been the mortgage payment for the month.
That's right. That's right.
But we went up to the altar rail, and they're praying. And the guy, Pastor Sean, was like, I'm praying. He said, there's somebody here that hasn't slept. There's somebody here that needs to sleep. They're dealing with anxiety. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's me. Like there's probably, what, a couple hundred women there? Easy, right? Like 200 maybe. This is a pretty big event. And I'm standing there and I'm like, God, I am ready to receive it. Like I am ready. Like he is definitely like prophesying over my life right now. And so he's praying and I'm like receiving. And we get home and I was like, I'm gonna have a good night's sleep. And even mom was like, okay, I can't wait to hear how you slept. Because I had not. I mean, I was waking up 3 times at least a night for since July, August, September, like 4 or 5 months at that point. I mean, no sleep. And so I went to bed and I was like, good night, God, like, thank you for this blessing. And I slept for like 2 hours and I woke up panicking. It was awful. I was like, and then I sobbed even deeper and harder because I'm like, what is happening? Like, but he prayed and what is this prayer fake? Like, I was so mad. So then I went back to bed and I woke up 2 hours later and then 2 hours later again. And so mom's smiling because she knows. In the kitchen the next morning, I am dog tired. And she's like, are you ready? How did you sleep? Are you ready to go to the conference? And I just sobbed. I was like, it's not okay. Like, I can't even breathe. And she was like, it's okay. Well, we don't have to go. And I was like, no, somebody got a blessing last night. I'm going today. I want the blessing today. Like somebody got something last night. So we went. And of course I'm panicked the whole time. I'm anxious the whole time. It was like 6 hours, right? Which is like 19 meals that I had to pack and, and
20 Pringles.
Yeah, like it's just like, it was just like a lot to prepare for this. So, like 100 test strips.
Yeah, God bless.
So extra
man.
batteries.
Oh, man.
But anyway, so we get to the end of it and they were talking about Hannah in the Bible and how God remembered her. And he remembered her when she was crying because they thought she was drunk and she wasn't. But she just said, no, I haven't had anything to drink. I'm so upset that I have no words. It's just coming out in groans and tears. And so then they go into a prayer and they played a song. And it's a Protestant church. The song was like 18 minutes. And it was like it was like a half an hour, and no, it was a beautiful song.
Oh man!
But
beautiful 18 minutes.
Yeah, it was a solid like Nickelodeon Showtime, and so I remember staring at like the cross that they had, and that was kind of like a parallel to almost 10 years before, right, when I was in the Catholic Church, and I was just standing there, and I remember arguing with God in my head, and I was like, okay, please take this away because I feel like I can't function. Like I can't be I don't even know who I am. And I begged for like, I don't know, the first 5 minutes of the song. And then in my head, and then I switched over to like, no, you probably can't do it anyway. Like I was trying to do like reverse psychology, well, I mean, it'd be cool if you did it, but like whatever. I mean, you probably don't even want to do it anyways. It's cool. It's like whatever. Like I don't even want you to do it now. Like I actually don't want you to heal me now. Like I don't care. And I tried and I was like, maybe that'll work. Yeah, and then like another 5 minutes went by and I was like, you know what? I can't control it. I can't. This is something that I am just dealing with and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And this is before I started writing the book. And I remember just staring at the cross and I was like, you know what? There are people that have been given horrible things to live in life. There are people that have cancer. There are people that have buried children. There are people that have been orphans their people have so much. And I remember thinking, you know what, if this, and it could make me cry, and I'm not even a crier. But I was like, you know what, if this is what I have to deal with, fine. And I remember standing at the cross and I was like, but I'll never love you any less. If this is what I have to deal with, I will deal with it every day. But God, I'll never love you any less. I'll deal. I'll figure it out. This life is not that long. I'll figure it out. It was really weird because as I just conceded, like it was almost like my whole body just had to give up because I didn't know what else to do. I had been fighting it and I was so tired. And so I just was praying and mom was next to me and I was weird. I felt like weird. Like my head felt weird. Like it felt like two magnets were in my head. Like when you're kids and you screw around with the North and South Pole, that's what it felt like in my head. And my mom was like, are you okay? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I felt something in my head.
You got the kinetic energy.
I was like, I don't know, but I was like, but I think I'm okay. And she was like, okay. Like, cause I'm already like, yeah, I have no fingertips. Like she's probably like losing it. And so we went home that night and I did not have any expectation of anything at all. I was like, well, I'll talk to you at 2:00. Like, here we go. I'll have a nice solid 2 hours of sleep, grateful for 2. Just totally conceited. And then I woke up at 6 a.m. and I slept the whole night. And I was like, man, and I just cried. I was like, Mom, I slept. It was like I woke up anyway. And this is before the abuse got really bad. I mean, like, this is before lorazepam. This is like right before all hell broke loose with everything else. Then I slept the next night and I slept the next night. And it got to be like 5 nights. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, is this for real? Like, is this going to be a thing? Like, do I get to sleep now?
Yeah.
And so it was interesting because I had signed up a long time ago to get like the text message of the day. And it was like from like the Christian radio station or whatever. They're really sporadic with it. Like, I don't know who's in charge of it, but
I'm
like,
sure. They're probably just like got it on a rollout sheet with like the
they're
100
probably
of
like,
them
"Oh,
ready to
crap.
rock.
Joey, did you send that today? Like, we haven't sent it since April.
Oh man.
But anyway, so I just so happened like my prayer going on was like, now I feel like doubting Thomas. Here I am like begging God, like, the one, and now I'm like, is this for real? Because I'm not sure if I believe that this is like literally for real. And so then I'm like, okay, now my prayer is I believe, help my unbelief, because now I'm not believing. Like, and that's a really real feeling. So after like 3 nights, I guess, I woke up to a text message, random, from this radio station, and the whole scripture, it says, it said, daughter, your faith has made you well.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. And I was like, okay, because they called us daughter that
Forever
whole
saying that from
weekend.
the the retreat.
And I looked up the Bible. I'm like, yeah, but it's the Bible, right? There's like 100,000 pages. I'm like, so how many times do they say daughter, right? Because like, what's our math here? Like, is the mathing? And when I looked it up, you know how many times it is? It's one time. And interestingly enough, when I did a deeper dive, it was the time with the woman with the issue of blood. And my was an issue with blood, just in a different way. And I just cried and I said, okay. I said, then I receive every single thing you have for me. And I've slept every night since. And it's been at least 5 years. But it's so those two, in answer to your question, those 2 times God has given me gifts, huge gifts, from other people. And I feel like our only way to share those gifts is to be a gift ourselves. Both of those times kind of confirmed, like, if God is good and he does these things for me and I'm so undeserving, then I need to let other people know that no matter what they've done, he can do that for them too. And that they don't have to live like this. They don't have to live in chains. They don't have to live in fear. They don't have to live in anxiety. It may come for a season. It may come for a moment, but it will pass. And you don't have to concede to this life and not get every good thing that God has. Every bad thing he can turn for good, and he has in my life. So those are 2 examples that really pulled me through, that kind of validated. And there's so many things in between, with people just talking to random people and they're like, oh my gosh, like I needed to hear that today, kind of thing. But the 2 things that really gave me validation wasn't necessarily anything I did, but it was what God did in me.
Correct. That made you kind of feel differently.
Yeah. And I was like, man, if I can make somebody else, if I can be that vessel, if I can be that liaison to help someone else find him in that really raw way, then that's what I want. Because we can't take anything with us. I told my husband the other day, I'm like, if I can get to the end of my life and I meet God and he's like, do you see this crowd over here? They're here because of you. These people came only because you were kind, because you were thoughtful, because you were loving, because you shared with them and they didn't give up, because you told them how good I was, meaning God, not me. And, and I shared that with them. And because of sharing, they're here. That is the biggest reward. I want to hear well done. And so the architecture degree, all of that was a driving force when I was younger. But now it's like, I just want people to feel freedom. Like I have been gifted, because I'm so not deserving of that gift.
No,
like,
but I
every
want to
day.
say I do appreciate the way you kind of humorize a lot of it too. I've noticed that a lot
yeah.
about you. And I think that's a
A
big.
couple divorces will do that to you.
No, but that's a lot of people need to do that more. We all tend to take things so seriously, and look at things, so personalized and serious at times. And sometimes just laughing at it and having that humor aspect can do a lot. And I can even tell that from the way you talk and talk through things that you clearly use humor a lot in the way you talk through things. So I just want to say that too, because we always talk about that too. And I think that's huge. So I love the way that your experience through that and the way you've looked at that now is not really, because we all look at it like our past is, it doesn't have to make it be bad per se, because you look at it more of like a standpoint and like a launching pad to get to where you're at. And I think that's the perspective shift that a lot of people, in my opinion, are missing. Is that, it's not that we all are going to go through issues. We're all going to have these constant circumstances that are going to arise, that are going to be bad, and turmoil is going to always be there. It's just, how can I view that in not that way? How can I view it not negative? How can, like you said, put a humorous twist to it? And if that doesn't work for you, how can I just be bigger than that issue and realize that it's, there's a bigger picture? But I think that is the key. I really enjoyed hearing you talk and the way that you dissected that, and especially the way you talk through your past and stuff, because I think even just the way you talk about it is you can tell you've used that in a positive way, which is key, because not everybody looks at it that way.
No, and I have to give credit to my cousin. So he is no longer with us. But Michael is amazing. He was see, now I'm gonna cry.
You're okay. We're emotional here.
I know,
We're
right?
good.
I know, and I hate crying. God, I hate crying in public. I cry at home.
That's fair.
In the shower.
When you're shaking, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm shaking it out, which I'm not doing right now.
Oh, man.
No, Michael's amazing, and he was the kindest person ever. And so Michael got married very young. 17, 18, very young. And his wife at the time, Michelle, was pregnant, and they had their daughter, and then they got married, and then they had 2 more children. And Callie and Tyler, the 2 oldest ones, what was the disease?
Batten's disease.
Okay, Batten's disease, if you want to Google that one. It is really, at the time, what was it, only a couple kids in the world had it?
I didn't know that.
It's just very rare.
It's extremely rare, like very rare. So definitely like a fun Google search. But yeah, so we didn't know what was happening to them. So by the time Callie was 7, she passed away. And then Tyler passed away when he was 5, right? Didn't he make it to 5? They were 2 years apart, right?
I know he passed away, I believe, the year after Cal.
The year after her, but they were, okay, we're not on.
You're all good. We
don't know our timeline here, but they were both under 7. They're very young.
It's understandable.
But
yeah,
Tyler,
sad regardless, yeah.
Yes, and Tyler ended up dying in Michael's arms. So he heard him. So basically, it's kind of, and I'm not a doctor, but it's kind of like a Lou Gehrig's-ish in a way, like where it shuts your body down rapidly, but at a young age. So like they were kind of toe walkers, and then Callie ended up in a wheelchair, and then like your digestive system goes, and then your breathing goes, and then vision went. And then you end up like suffocating, basically.
God bless, no, yeah.
Right. So they heard Tyler in his room, and Michael ran in, picked up Tyler, and he wasn't breathing right at the time.
I don't know the details.
It was something like he wasn't breathing, but then Michael was holding him, and then Tyler came back and did a breath and just wrapped his arms around Michael, and then died in Michael's arms. So now their last daughter, Ava, is amazing. We actually got to see her just a couple years ago. She is the sweetest girl. But Michael and Michelle at that time dealt with, like we were talking about earlier, the antidepressants. And I mean, they were young. By the age of 25, they had buried 2 children. Like, it was ridiculous. And so the therapist at the time had put them on antidepressants and all this stuff. Well, Michael got hooked, Michelle got off. So she ended up getting custody of my cousin Ava, and her and Michael did not work out. So giving that whole context, Michael ended up then, he was on heroin, right? He got hooked on heroin at some point. And he really battled with drugs on and off. Now, never saying drugs are good, but I understand there's pain, right? There is pain that goes along.
We're not going to diminish that.
No,
Absolutely.
not at all.
Absolutely.
And he was, he was such a good man, and kind and thoughtful. I mean, he gave anybody the shirt off their back kind of person.
No, and sometimes the most emotionals get down that way too, because sadly, that's just, I feel like a lot of the ways it goes, because when you feel that much yourself, sometimes it's
Yeah.
It's just, I hate to say it like that, but I understand that completely.
Absolutely, yeah. So when I was going through, when Anthea's dad had left me and her, and we were literally sharing a bedroom with my one sister, I had a crib shoved in the corner, a mattress on the floor. I mean, like, we were just like, it was just trying to get by. And I was really struggling. And I had a couple cousins that, well, one in particular that was very cold about the situation and was just kind of like, who has their wedding called off on them kind of thing. And that made me feel worse because I was like, okay, I don't know how to process this right now. Like, I don't even want to eat, or do I want to eat too much? Like, but Michael called, and he was kind of like, he was always like a big brother. And he was like, hey, kiddo, how's it going? And I said, I'm really struggling, Mike. And he said, I know. He said, but he said, you have two choices. He said, you can either be happy or you can be sad. He said, but you can't be both. He said, so what are you going to do? And I was like, how can you tell me that? How can you tell me that? Like, of every cousin, and we have a big Italian family. I'm like, my mom, like, mom's one of what, 6 or 7, dad's one of 6, dad's one of 7. I mean, lots of cousins. And I was like, how are you the one that is calling me? And now keep in mind, this is the stint where he was sober. Like, very, I mean, he had a very long run of sober. And he was like, he said, kid, because you got a choice. He said, I had to choose to be happy. He said, I just had to choose to be okay. That stuck with me because I'm like, if he can bury 2 kids, then I can choose to be okay. And that was, so I always try to think about that when I go through my story, and it's like, it is so easy to sit there and be like, oh gosh, like, I don't know, just beat yourself up over stuff. And I know one of the things I used to beat myself over was just how I got pregnant with Anthea. Obviously, we were not trying. I was in college. Like, she was a surprise. But her dad, I think he married me because I got pregnant. I don't think we would have gotten married. You know what I mean? Like, I think he just kind of did it because it was like guilt and the right thing to do, but it wasn't for love. And it used to really bother me, like, nobody loved me enough to want to have a kid with me. And it really, really bothered me. And then up until probably, like, I would say probably a year ago, I was just thinking about it and contemplating on it and praying about it. I was like, you know what? There are so many people that can't have kids. And just because a human person didn't think I was good enough to have a kid with, God did. And he gave her to me. You know what I mean? Like, he trusted me enough to raise her. And it doesn't matter what anybody else's opinion is, and it's, you have to change your perspective, because it is so easy to sit and just be like, oh, well, I'm a mess. I'm this, I'm that, I'm anxious. And this one person I heard, I can't remember who it was, but they said, you don't say, I have anxiety, I have depression, I have, what XYZ, fill in the blank. You have to say, like, okay, like, the spirit of anxiety is on me. I'm experiencing depression right now. You don't want to claim it as part of who you are in your DNA, because it's not who you are.
Because we all just have it in moments.
Yeah,
I
like,
agree.
yeah.
I love
So
that.
that way you're not you combining that with your person. So
No, couldn't agree more.
there you
Couldn't
go.
agree more. No,
What you
that
got?
was perfect. No, honestly,
Sorry.
I know you're fine. Honestly, we're probably going to get close to wrapping up, unless there's anything you wanted to bring up that I didn't bring up, that you wanted to touch base on or anything. And obviously, along with that, make sure where can people connect with you and find you too? I want to make sure you plug that in as well.
So I do a website. It's dalydoseofhope.com. So DALY dose, DOSE of you guys can spell, of hope.com. Hopefully, if you can't spell past
The daily without the I.
yeah, if you can't spell past that, then you're just at a loss. But my book's on Amazon. It's actually on a bunch. You can actually ask ChatGPT. He'll give you a rundown. Which
Oh,
is
that's right.
My daughter showed. Yeah. My daughter showed me that the other day, which was
cool.
so.
That is cool.
It is so, like, once you get through, there's so many humbling experiences that come with and I'm saying publicity in, like, such a small way, because it's not like I'm like some headliner, but just when your name gets out there, and you guys know this, you have a podcast, like, people know. And when you get out there in any sense, it's like you get humbled left and right. And so my daughter was like, Mom, you're on ChatGPT. Look. And she was like, tell me about the book Mentally Bankrupt. And ChatGPT, of course, holds nothing back and is like, Mentally Bankrupt's about, the author writes about her struggles in marriage and how she's been married multiple times and deals with, and it just like, it's this whole list. And I was like, oh God, like, I sound terrible.
Yeah.
And then of course, like, she goes to a small Christian school, and she had to do a report on a person in the family. And she's like, Mom, I picked you. I wrote about you. And I was like, oh, cool. I was like, that's awesome. And she's like, yeah, because like you wrote a book and stuff. And I was like, okay, small Christian school.
Yeah.
Okay. There's like 8 kids in her class. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And she's like, what, you want to see my slides? It was a PowerPoint. It was a PowerPoint presentation. Slide 1. My mom's name is Caitlin Daly. She's been married 3 times. I was like, oh my God. I was like, the school saw this.
That is rough.
Man. But no, it's just,
Oh man,
but
that's good.
But to your point though, you have to have humor.
Yes,
You have
love
to.
it. I
Because
love
you
that you
can't
do it
get
that way.
through, like, so if there's anybody that's like, oh gosh, I'm beating myself up, just try to find a way to laugh through it. Just be like, I can't tell you how many times during the day I'm like, oh, silly me, like, there goes Caitlin again,
Absolutely, you gotta do it.
Yeah, because you'll just drive yourself nuts if you don't.
If not, it's just gonna get worse. I agree. You gotta find ways to make fun with it, and that's we gotta make life
Exactly.
a game. Somehow that's really what I always try to say. We gotta try to find a way. If you hate something, try to make it a game. Try to make it fun somehow. Find a
yeah.
way to do it. But no, so mentally bankrupt. I'm gonna make sure I check that out.
You guys
as well.
can keep this too.
You
so
have
you
to
can
do that, but
No,
so
no,
we
you're
can get one too.
Oh, I
But-
will tell you. So in the back of the book, I actually paired up with Lifetime Wells. Have you guys heard of them?
No, I don't. Think so.
Lifetime Wells International. They're local. They're in
Okay.
they're in Denton.
We'll have to find that out. I didn't know that.
Actually, I can read you this little part of it. Founded in 2006, and now with over 3,150 wells. Now this is years ago, so that number's probably doubled. But Ken Wood's nonprofit charity to bring clean drinking water to the people of Ghana and Tanzania has become his passion. Lifetime Wells International logo incorporates Ken's greatest belief that water is life. It's true, you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending, and that is from C.S. Lewis. So the mission of Lifetime Wells International and its co-founders, Ken Wood and David Powell, is to improve the quality of life for communities in Gaza and Tanzania, providing access to clean water and eliminate death and disease caused by drinking unsafe water. The average cost to provide an entire community or school with a well is $3,500. They are grateful for the generosity of a small number of private donors who cover administrative costs, allowing 100% of all other donations to fund water projects. As of the spring of 2023, since its inception, Lifetime Wells vision, so now they have a vision facet of this, has provided help to those who needed vision improvements and gave sight back to 13,000 surgeries, and approximately 13,000 pairs of glasses and 79,000 eye treatments.
That's amazing.
Yep. So,
That's amazing.
so what I did was we've known Ken Wood for years, and he's just the most incredible man. Like I don't know if there's anybody else on earth like him. And very generous just an incredible man. And anyway, so I paired up with him. So 10% of all book sales go
That's
to
amazing.
Lifetime
I
Wells.
love
And there's
that.
actually a QR code on the back that goes right to their story about how Lifetime Wells got started and all of that. So
No, I'll have to check them out. I didn't know about that.
And he would be a good person to
I
interview.
will have to get up with him for a
he's-
podcast. That sounds like somebody we would love to have
Oh,
on.
he
I'm glad
is-
you said that. I did not know about him. I'll
Yeah,
have to
so
check
you
that
can
out.
find
I
everything
absolutely
about
will.
him on here,
I
but-
absolutely will.
I guess the bottom line is there's hope. There's hope no matter what you face. Life will throw you curveballs. I've had a bunch, and sometimes you catch them and sometimes you don't. And sometimes you get hit by them, and it's all about how you get back up.
It's as simple as that sometimes.
You just got to pick
Yep.
yourself back up. And if you can do that, you just keep moving forward. And that's all you got to do. So the book it's not a quick fix, but it's to help you, just kind of find yourself in the journey.
Yep. Realize that there's light at the end of the tunnel.
There is. Yeah. And
Yep.
you're not alone. Yeah, that you're not alone, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the key we all have to remember in this world, as hard as that is sometimes. That's why it's hard for a lot of people. A lot of us sometimes, we're blessed to have family or support. Not everybody does.
No.
And that's the key, that when you're in those moments or in a situation like that, to realize that there is people that you can reach out to, and there's people that do still care.
Absolutely.
In the world, there is good people, as hard as it sometimes is for us to see that in this world.
Yeah.
But there is good people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the book, like it goes, chapter 1 is who are you? Because if you don't have a good foundation of who you are, you're going to have a really hard time finding out how to help yourself, right? So who you are, then who is God? Because if you don't know who God is, then for you, like who is God to you? And if you don't know that, then you're not going to know all the wonderful things that you are. You're beautifully made. You're smart. You're given wisdom. They're not long. It's not a big book, but 17 is your testimony of triumph, and so it works you through your whole process, and it brings you to a point where it's like, okay, in the old Japanese tradition, they don't throw away pottery that's broken. They mend it, and they mend it with gold, right? And that gold is a reminder that even broken pieces can become even more valuable, and they can become even more useful and even stronger than the original. And that's how we are. We're all broken. We're all just trying to get some light
We're all just trying to get
light
by.
in. Yeah. And
Mhm.
and so we're all like that broken pottery. So you're not alone. Read the book. I do have a Facebook page too.
Yes,
So it's just
absolutely.
Daly Dose
We'll
of
make sure we
Hope.
link that as well in the description.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, but anyways, yeah,
Absolutely.
just happy to.
Well, all we can say is I want to say, like I said, once again, respect what you're doing, respect your view and your perspective and the way that you approach things. And thank you for trying to help people and being there for people that need it. Like you said, we're not alone. There is people like you that are out there for people, and there's a lot of people that are out there. And I think we all do lose sight of that and think we're just stuck in a bubble. And sometimes we don't really see the bigger picture of things. But thank
Yeah.
you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And we
Yeah.
truly appreciate it. And obviously, go get the book. We're going to go check that out ourselves. Mentally Bankrupt. Go ahead and get that. We'll have the link in the description as well for that. But thank you for
Yeah.
taking the time out of your day and
Thank you for
joining us.
having
It
me.
means more than you know. And thank you for joining us as well.
Yeah. Thanks,
Thank
Mom.
you. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Thanks to Mom over there. That's right. And thank you, Jess. Thank you, baby. And thank you to everybody watching. As always, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And ELE is always our message and our mission here. Everybody love everybody. Let's try to do our part and make this world a better place. Spread love, spread kindness, forgiveness, and let's try to do our part and create a positive vibe into this world. And that's all we need. And that's hopefully we're trying to do our part and influence others at home that want to do that as well. And we will see you again soon. Like I said, this is season 2, episode number 42 on our good old Who's Even Listening podcast on our Mental Medicine channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. And this is the Mental Medicine signing off.